My bad, my bad. What's good with it, y'all? The microphone was muted. What's good with it? It's live talks for low. I usually do this every Wednesday at 9 o'clock p.m., but I did it at a different time. I'm going to play around with the times a little bit. I think maybe 8 o'clock might be a better time because I know 9 o'clock p.m. be a little late. And most people got to go to work next morning, so it's during the weekday. But I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Welcome to Live Talks with Low. And if you're just tuning in, I was playing my most latest single called Baseline Fix. Yeah, I did something a little different, made a little dance track, my attempt at a dance electronic track. Let me know what you think in the comments, If you didn't get a chance to listen to it, you can hit on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, any streaming platform of your choice. You can stream it or download it. I appreciate the support. So as you can see that I got on my Eagles gear tonight, and you can see what tonight's topic. Normally I talk about music topics, but lately I've been talking about the Eagles topic. And if you've been following me for a while, I'm a huge Eagles fan. I'm a diehard Eagles fan. Anybody knows me personally knows that I'm a huge Eagles fan. So tonight I'll be talking about the Eagles and what they can do to go ahead and get out this 3-game slump they've been in. And I'd like some of you guys who are in the comment section or in the audience to share your thoughts. And also, I'm going to put up a link here in the few for people that want to join and share their thoughts. You can share your thoughts with me on the live, or you can share it in the comments if you choose. I'll be looking at the comments as well. And I'll probably show some of them on stage too as well, later on too as well, if you get started, Oh, before I say this, let you know, now what talk I would not be entertaining on this show or any of my posts is mention Jalen Hurts. That's not going to go. What's up, Maria? How you doing? Thank you for tapping in. I appreciate you for tuning in. God bless you as well. Thank you. And now what talk I would not be entertaining is bitching Jalen Hurts. We're not going to do that. So you come up here with that, I'm going to cut you off. I don't even want to entertain that bullshit. Yeah, I said it. It's bullshit. Just let you know I cuss. So if your ears a little offended, it's not PG-13. This is an adult show. I cuss. And you come up here on the live with me, you're free to be yourself. Just going to make it known. So to let you know, I would not be entertaining that type of talk. Now, if you follow me on IG, you might have seen me post a reel where I was holding him accountable for his mistakes. Yes, I will hold us accountable for his mistakes. Cut me off, player. Me cut you on or what? Use your T. Oh, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. Use your T. Fuck you. And your mama too, while you at it. Dickhead. But anyway, back to it. Yeah, but exactly, if anything, like I said, you come up here with that, I would not be in line. But if you come with a good debate, then I sit there and listen to it all day. If you want to be a troll, get the fuck on. That's all I gotta say. I ain't entertaining that shit. So let me get started. So welcome to the podcast. I'm Loretta. Tonight we'll be diving into a conversation. This will be no sugarcoating, and I'm gonna go into a whole bunch of details about what I think they need to do to get out this slump. The Eagles have been in a 3-game slump. Eagles been in a 3-game slump, 3-game losing streak. Been terrible. If you watch the game Monday night against the Chargers, it was terrible. Jalen Hurts threw 4 interceptions. It's something they never done, but hey, I did get mad and say, hey, this game is on him. I have to hold him accountable for that game. And it's also on AJ too. AJ dropped a lot of passes. He had 13 targets. And for somebody to be crying for the ball earlier this season, talking about, hey, you need to come on and what's the name? Give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball. That's what he was crying at the beginning of the season. He wasn't getting the ball enough. He wasn't involved enough. Now, I'm looking at the stats. I pulled the stats up. Let's look at the stats right here. I got it right here. You can see it. Got it right here. Probably can't see my phone because I have a privacy screen, but you can look right here. AJ Brown had 13 targets. He only had 6 receptions for 100 yards. Now, each time he caught a reception was an average of 16.7 yards, which is good. However, when he caught those receptions, I mean, that was good. He didn't get a touchdown, but hey, he dropped the touchdown, a for sure touchdown, and then he dropped the pass that was in his hands and went right through his hands, which he should have grabbed and caused an interception. So really, I would say Jalen Hurts really threw 3 interceptions. I know the stat line says 4, but really that one of those the interception prior to the one he threw in overtime, that was on AJ. AJ should have caught that ball. So I really fought him for that interception. But AJ had 13 targets, only caught 6 receptions. So that means 7 of those passes you dropped, you did not hit. Which is crazy. Not to say that Jalen Hurts had a perfect game because he was missing people too, overthrowing too, but AJ dropped a for sure touchdown in the end zone in the fourth quarter that could have won us the game. And he just as much as fault as well. And usually I bring KP for the game because KP hasn't been a great offensive coordinator. His play calling has been atrocious all season. But however, this game was on Jalen Hurts, and to be honest, I really don't have too much criticism on the defense. I mean, the defense did what they could do. The defense actually played good. The defense held them to 22 points. Actually, the defense been doing the job for like the past couple of weeks, except for that Chicago game when they allowed 200 plus yards for both running backs on the Chicago Bears. So that's crazy, but whatever. But what's crazy though is I don't know, man. I don't know what to say. But to be honest, I think that maybe Jalen needs to take over like he did in the Rams game. Maybe sit KP down and say, "Hey, bitch, KP." And that's the talk I'm going for. So I'm with that talk. Maybe Jalen Hurts need to bench KP and take over the game like he did in the Rams and call his plays. Call his game because when he call his game, oh man, it goes in. Oh man, he does great. It's crazy. It's real good. And I mean, the Rams game, nobody really talks about that comeback. Everybody's still mad about this game, fixated on this game. Granted, did he play horrible? Yes. But all this bench talk, I don't agree with that. And I don't think that's the answer. And to be honest, I don't entertain that type of talk. So if you're talking that and you're an Eagles fan, you need to shut the fuck up, to be honest. And that's starting to question your loyalty. Are you really an Eagles fan? Or you've been one of those hate herders from the beginning who didn't believe him in the beginning when we said he was going to be the guy that wins another Super Bowl, which he did just in February. It's crazy that he has one really bad game. And to be honest, this is probably the worst game I ever seen Jalen Hurts play ever in his career. Sure, he had other bad games, but this one tops it because he threw 4 interceptions. And then he lost a fumble and he had 2 turnovers in the same play, which is unfortunate. But people act like no quarterback ever had a bad game. Tom Brady had a bad game. Josh Allen had many bad games back to back. Lamar Jackson had bad games. Joe Burrow had bad games. Hell, Justin Herbert had bad games. As a matter of fact, we held Justin Herbert to 100 yards. He didn't throw 200 yards. Jalen Hurts still had 240 yards too, even though he had a bad game. And that's his bad game. And we all know Jalen Hurts don't always make a lot of turnovers, but this game, he just had a lot of turnovers. And a positive from this game I can take is I actually saw the offense move the ball a little better. It was just the mistakes what causes that game. The offense was flowing a lot better. And Saquon got off a big run, a 52-yard rushing touchdown. So, it was almost like last season. So the offense has improved a little bit as far as the play calling a little bit, which is why I don't even fault KP for this loss. Really, it's not on him. It's just on the execution. Too many mistakes. I will. Stay safe too, man. Appreciate you, King. Appreciate you, King. Appreciate that. And what really gets me is it's just that the execution was off. That's what it came down to. It came down to the execution of the plays. I saw the difference, but my thing is, when it comes to running Saquon, I want people to understand that KP need to understand that can't keep running Saquon up the middle. When Saquon got that touchdown, you can start him off in the middle, but bounce him to the outside. I love that play. That was very good. That's what Saquon is. Running Saquon up the middle is not something you do. Bounce him on the outside. Saquon is a elusive bat. He's not a power back. Yeah, he can truck people, jump over people. Let Saquon do the work. Saquon got the spin moves. He got the juke moves. That's not Saquon's game. You got to bounce him on to the outside. Got to run sweeps, screens, toss with Saquon. Let Saquon go and make a play. Get them lanes and let them rushing lanes. Let them see them open running lanes and let them go. Let Saquon show them. Know what I'm saying? Now that's the thing that I will criticize about as far as the play calling. Want to Saquon out the middle, and also what was the lack of use of Tank Bigsby? Tank Bigsby has been balling a lot of games. We give him carries. He also had 100+ yards one game as well. And we won that game. I like to see him get in more too. Don't go away from him. He only had like maybe a couple of rushes for 4 yards, but come on, give him more 100 yards than that. What's crazy is that they just relying on Saquon, but we got other backs. Tank Bigsby is a great running back, and Will Shipley's pretty good too. I mean, use him too as well. But like, come on, Saquon is not getting it. Let Bigsby share some of those carries too, and I think that's been the issue why Saquon really couldn't get off this year. Saquon really hasn't been showing a lot this year, but he had a good game. He's had a good game against the Giants. And he can have more good games. He can still get more rushing yards if they bounce him to the outside. And also another thing I've noticed about the offense that I like to see Jalen Hurts run more. Even though he has the most rushing attempts for a quarterback, I think they need to involve him more in the running game because last season he was more involved in the running game. And that opened up more running lanes for Saquon Barkley. And it opened up the passing game. And that's another thing I know. I don't know if it's Jalen Hurts ready to take off or is it KP controlling him and telling him not to run as much? Jalen Hurts slides. And we all know when Jalen Hurts takes off running, Jalen Hurts is great. He's a dual threat quarterback. Not to say Jalen can't drop back and pass. But I think they're trying to make him rely on dropping back and pass. That's not Jalen's game. You got to let Jalen get in some running plays too. You got to throw off the defense. And sure, they got a lot of tape on us, but you got to switch it up a little bit. Which I honestly say KP actually was trying to switch it up a little bit, And I've been heavy critical of him all season by this play calling. But Monday night, I definitely saw a difference in the offense and moving the ball. And I think what really hurt us was there's so much of the mistakes. The mistakes were caused us to lose the game. It wasn't necessarily the play calling. There's some little mistakes. And like I was saying earlier, mistakes is want to Saquon out the middle too much. Wasn't good. But when they bounce him on the outside, they get that long touchdown run. You see what happens? So it was a lot of the mistakes, and a lot of mistakes was Jalen overthrowing people and throwing those interceptions that caused us the game. As far as the defense, as I was saying earlier, I don't criticize them that much. Defense did their part. We sacked Justin Herbert 7 times. The offensive line is not that great. We was getting to Justin Herbert, And what gets me upset about the loss so much was he's playing with a broken hand. You're playing with a guy that has a broken hand. He has one hand, which is crazy. We should have won that game. That's what got me. And when it comes down to it, it was the offense not executing and those mistakes. Those turnovers caused us. We lost a turnover battle, plain and simple, for that game. And the Bears game, is the play calling issue. Excuse me. Sure, AJ had 100+ yards that game. Had 2 touchdowns, but however, it came down to it. The offense was still stagnant, still running the same play calling. That cut us down in the defense for that Bears game. The defense was like non-existent. They're letting Swift run all over us, scoring 100 yards, and I forget the Chicago running back. That's the guy that started with a K. I think Kamura or something, whatever his name was. He was running all over us too. He had 100+ yards. That what got us right there, the defense. Now I fought the defense for that game and the offense. It's like they wasn't there to play. It's like they didn't come to play. I don't know what was going on. It seemed like nobody was coming to play. Both sides of the ball was just being stagnant. They didn't want to play defense, letting them run all over and pass, letting the Bears do what they want to do. Now moving to the Cowboys game, the first loss at the beginning of this 3-game losing streak with the Cowboys, we blew a 21-point lead. How? You know, offense played great in the first half. And that game wasn't even on the defense. The offense played great in the first half. Offense really played great in the first half. And they was doing things, passing the ball. They didn't want to go start running. And when the passing game was working, I mean, you make some adjustments, but during the second half, we didn't score at all in the game. We didn't score at all against the Cowboys. We let them come on back. It was like 21. We had a 21-point lead in the second half. We let them come on back, and they ain't scored. The offense didn't move the ball. The defense was getting stops. It wasn't like the defense wasn't getting stops. The defense got enough stops to get the offense there. The offense couldn't move the ball, and that's what it's coming down to, you know. And I like the fact that KP and Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown and them talking, and Devontae Smith and Saquon, they got together and talking and fixing the offense. Now, one thing I could say positive, on Monday night's game, to go back to Monday night's game was the offense looked good. The play calling was good. The play calling was pretty good, like the offense moving the ball better. It's just the mistakes. The execution was off. Now, we got the Raiders coming up Sunday. So hopefully, the Raiders, we should win that game. We should be able to get it together. So I'm hoping that the Raiders can get together that game. And I hope the Eagles can get it together that game and get right. That's the problem. That's the problem that we're missing. Get the game right. Get the game right. If the execution is on point, get everybody in sync. I think that's what it comes down to. I think now maybe KP is starting to get a grasp of it. We'll see. The play calling look more creative than it has before in all season. But now we got to get the execution down pat. Reduce the mistakes, reduce the number of turnovers and all that. Keep those and reduce those and be smooth sailing. Now, the Raiders game should be the game that we get it back. That should be a get-back game. We get it back. That should be a good right game. It should be. Not be on point. The defense continue what they're doing. The defense played great. The defense played great against the Chargers. Can't fault them. They got turnovers. They sacked Justin Herbert 7 times. Vic Fangio going to make sure the defense is great. Now we just need KP to do what he did against the Chargers, bring that game plan, of course, make some adjustments, they got film on us, and I like to see more Jalen Hurts runs and more RPOs. We need to bring those back. Why haven't we doing many RPOs? Because the problem is it calls points back to the offense, You got to get the offense. Can we have a good game where for 4 quarters that the team's playing good for 4 quarters? That's all we're asking as fans. Anybody in the chat, drop your comments on what you think. But I think that a good game will be where the Eagles are playing good for 4 quarters, the whole game, not for one half, all 4 quarters. If we can play good for all 4 quarters, we have a good game, a good win. And the Raiders game, I think they'll get right. I think that's the get right game. I think they got it. It's still time to turn it around. I understand that we're upset, we're mad, I've been upset. I've been heavily critical of them. One thing we Eagle fans are going to do, we are going to hold our team critical. We are going to hold them accountable. We are going to hold you accountable, which is fair. However, what was Rich on ESPN saying, earlier I shared a clip on my Instagram story. If you follow me on Instagram, you can follow me at Loretta's Only, the same as my YouTube, the same as my TikTok, the same as my Facebook, and the same as on my YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube or Twitch, let me know. But honestly, I think that what needs to happen. If only we can reduce those mistakes. KP can continue to get some creativity because can't really fuss at his play call on Monday. I felt like it was there. It was just the execution was off. The mistakes causes that game. Mistakes on the offense causes the game. There's 4 interceptions by Jalen Hurts, and it's not a complete knock on him. Yes, I hold him accountable for that loss, and I hold AJ Brown also accountable for that loss as well because he dropped a lot of key passes that could have helped us win that game, especially that one in the end zone in the fourth quarter when he had the guy beat. He usually catches those. That was a touchdown. We caught that. We win that game. There's no doubt in my mind. The game would never win in overtime. And honestly, the game should never win in overtime. AJ Brown would have caught that touchdown. You know, and also a thing that I will say, criticize, maybe, Jalen Hurts, after Jalen Hurts threw the 3 interceptions, I think maybe they should have went to running, and to stop passing the ball. We kept passing the ball instead of went to running, get Saquon involved, let Saquon get back in there. Saquon had 100 plus yards that game. Saquon was playing good. He was running good that game. The run game was there. I think we should have went to running. We kept passing. After Jalen Hurts threw that 3rd interception, we couldn't have went to running. Bounce Saquon on the outside. That's the problem. That was my biggest issue with the play calling. As far as the play calling, you run Saquon out the middle. I felt like they should have went back to running Saquon. Won that clock out because we had the lead. And to be honest, Charles' offensive line is not that great. Their line is not that great. We sacked Justin Herbert 7 times, so the defense did their job. It just came back to the offense making those mistakes, the turnovers. That's what cost us. But we can fix that for the Raiders game. Fix it. That's all we asking. Fix it. And I understand they will respond back. It's not too late. It's not too late to turn it around. Still enough season left to turn it around. And remember, we can make the playoffs. The thing is, you just got to turn it around and get focused. And I feel like Jalen wasn't focused that game. Somebody pointed out on my Threads post that he wasn't focused. He got to refocus. I don't know what it was, but he has to get focused. And I mean, it happens. It happens. Great quarterbacks all had bad games. Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Dan Marino, hell, all of them had bad games. But what I find crazy though, I will say this about the media is the media quickly want to turn it back on Jalen Hurts because he had a real bad game. This is the first time in his career that he really threw that many turnovers. We all know Jalen Hurts does a lot of turnovers. He had 5 turnovers that game. Okay, it happens. My thing is they so heavy critical of him and stuff. This guy, just back in February, won a Super Bowl MVP. And then we got our own fan base talking about benching him. That's a sign. All that talk, benching Jalen Hurts is a sign. And I won't be entertaining none of it. So if you're in the audience in the comment section entertaining that, you'll be banned. I don't want to hear your thoughts. And all these people calling for Tanner McKee to save the season, stop. Stop it. You sound ridiculous. I straight up and tell you sound ridiculous. You sound like a fool. Stop it. Doesn't make sense. Tanner McKee is a QB2 for a reason, and Jalen Hurts is QB1 for a reason. The guy just won us the Super Bowl back in February. Got the Super Bowl MVP. And I see a comment right here. Let's see. Jonathan Harvey, 5701. Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in the show. And let me put your comment up here. Can the Eagles turn around? They can, but were they in the next 4 games? It begins versus the Raiders. Can the Eagles score 30 points versus the Raiders? That's a good point. Not sure. I can understand why you feel like that way, Jonathan. I mean, we haven't scored 30 points in a while, so I can understand it, but I'm not sure. But I think they could turn around against the Raiders. Now, the Raiders game is a must-win. We need that win more than the Raiders do. And this is the game for them to turn it around. You're right. It starts with the Raiders. As I was saying earlier, the offense has to reduce the mistakes. Mistakes happen during the game. I'm not saying you're gonna be perfect. You're never gonna be perfect. Mistakes happen. But I think they need to be more in sync. But I feel like they could score 30 points that game, and I think this will be the game that they do it. Now, the only way that they don't score 30 points is if they continue the mistakes they did from last week, Monday, against the Chargers. So I think they need to go into the game with the mindset like, hey, don't play the Raiders. My thing is I'm worried about them just going into playing the Raiders, like playing like they do. You know how sometimes a team plays like their opponent? They don't need to do that. What the Eagles need to do is go into that game like they're playing the Bills or the Cowboys or the Giants are playing a rival. Go into that game like you're playing a rival. Go into that game like you're playing a rival. Look, we know it's the Raiders, but guess what? We're gonna play the Raiders like they 10-3. Going there with that attitude, like the Raiders good. The Raiders only won, I think, only 2 games this season, but going to that game like the Raiders are good, a team with a good record, like the Raiders are a competitor. If the Eagles going there with that attitude, I can see there's no doubt in my mind they can score 30 plus points. I think they can. But they have to go in there with the attitude that the Raiders are a good team and we're not gonna play at that level. We're not gonna make that mistake. That's what they don't need to do. If the Eagles go into that game like the Raiders is a 10-3 team or a team that's above 500 or a team with a good record or whatever you want to call it, the Eagles will win that game and they're gonna win by a lot. It's gonna be a belt to ass whooping. And I'm gonna be able to make a real pulling my belt out. Talking about where them belts at. But I appreciate you, Jonathan, for sharing your thoughts. And if you click that link right there, you can join me on the live to share your thoughts live. You can jump on the live with me and share your thoughts. And all I ask is to bring something sensible, bring a sensible debate. But however, like I was saying earlier, I'm not entertaining no talk about benching Jalen Hurts. That's a sign. We're not benching Jalen Hurts. That's a sign. And I also got a notification on ESPN talking about what the Eagles draft a quarterback. They better not. What you drafting a quarterback for? Why? Unless you're getting ready to trade Tanner McKee where he can go somewhere else and be a starter, okay, but that quarterback gonna be a backup. They're not replacing Jalen Hurts as a starter. I hope they're not, because that's not the answer. But as far as the talks about Mr. Jalen Hurts, not entertaining it, and real Eagle fans, we stand by Jalen Hurts. I'm gonna stand by Jalen Hurts, regardless. Now, did I held him accountable for this loss, this last loss? Yes, I did, and that's okay, because I know he's gonna get it right, and I know he's better than that. So, of course, it's okay to criticize, but when you're talking about benching a quarterback, a guy that has led us to 2 Super Bowls in the last 2 years, come on, stop. And won a Super Bowl just back in February, and is a Super Bowl MVP. He's a Super Bowl MVP quarterback for a reason. Having a terrible game like Monday night does not make you a bad quarterback. Because if that's the case, then that'd be Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, uh, freaking Justin Herbert. All them had bad games this season. Come on. Come on. But because Jalen Hurts has a bad game, all of a sudden he's not elite no more. Come on, stop. Stop. And a lot of some of the fan base, it's annoying because you got half the fan base that wants to bench Hurts, and you got us that understand that talk is ridiculous. He's already done something that no Eagles quarterback has ever done, and that's made multiple Super Bowl appearances in their career. And what is Jalen Hurts' 6th year? His 6th year in the NFL, and he's appeared and played in 2 Super Bowls already, and still with the possibility to play in another Super Bowl this year again. So I'm not entertaining that talk. But far as anything else, you know, I would entertain any ideas about what you think you can do, the offense can do to improve, and what the Eagles can do to improve to turn it around. Because the defense, the last bad game they had was Chicago. That was on the defense. And offense, I think as a team, that was a terrible game. But the problem has been this year with the issues with the offense being stagnant. The offense not moving. As I've talked in the previous episode about the offense being stagnant. But now we're seeing a little changes, so I'm guessing that they're getting together, they're fixing it now. We just need execution. Now I think it's just the players executing. The mistakes got to stop. Reduce the mistakes. Reduce those turnovers. What causes? The plays were there. It's just the mistakes. Watching the game, see the mistakes. Players dropping passes. Jalen Hurts overthrowing people. It's crazy. But that's what I have. And if you're in the audience still, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Feel free to share your comments. You can feel free to join me on the live. Anybody could get knocked down. Watch what happens when that man gets up and keeps moving forward. For that knockout, our birds will do it. The season's not over. You either win or you learn. Exactly, Tim. Exactly, Tim Ramirez. 9204 said anybody can get knocked down. Watch what happens when that man gets up and keeps moving forward. For that knockout, our birds will do it. The season's not over. Either you win or you learn. Go birds. Absolutely, Tim. Go birds. That's the spirit. I love that energy. That's the spirit right there. This is the spirit right here. I love that. Season's not over. Tim's right. Season's not over. We 8-5. Like Rich Essen was saying earlier today on ESPN, relax. Don't get me wrong, we overreact. You know how we are. Eagles fans, I think it's so much of us respect high expectations of this team, which we should. I have high expectations for this team because of what we saw last season and what we know they're capable of. That's where it's coming from. That's why we're so emotional over a loss, because it's a loss. It's losses that we should never endure as a fan base. We know they're not playing their best football. We know they're not playing up to their true potential. So you're right, Tim. I agree. They're gonna answer back, and I believe Jalen Hurts is gonna answer back. And I feel sorry for the Raiders because the Raiders finna get something that they didn't mean to get. All that anger, yeah, the Raiders finna get it. They in trouble. They're in trouble because there's one thing about Jalen Hurts. He don't stay down. He don't stay down for long. And if he gonna get it right, and the offense gonna get it right, they're gonna be rolling on all cylinders. And like I said before, the Eagles just gotta go out there and play them like they're a competitor. Just play the Raiders like a competitor. Do not play at the Raiders level. Play them like they 10-3. That's all the Eagles gotta do. Treat it like a playoff game. Treat it like you're in the playoffs. You know what? Go ahead and treat it like it's a playoff game. Treat it like it's a playoff game. The Eagles go out there and treat it like it's a playoff game. I guarantee we're going to see the results we want to see come Sunday. I love it. And I love your energy, Tim. You're right. You either win or learn. That's it. That's it. We're gonna talk about our team. We're gonna hold the team accountable. That's one thing about Eagles fans. We're realistic. We're gonna hold our team accountable. If they suck, we're gonna let it know. We're gonna make it known. When they do something bad, but hey, I still believe in them, and the season's not over. They still can turn it around. Hey, because at the end of the day, when it comes to the postseason, I mean, records matter for seeding purposes, for home field advantage. But guess what? You can have the best record, and you still get your ass eliminated in the first round. We've seen it. You might have the best record during the regular season, but what really matters is how you play in that postseason. The postseason is a different animal. It's a different animal. It's a different game. Very different. So, with that being said, I'm going to go and get out of here. I appreciate everybody tuning in. And if you missed the live, you can catch the replay because right after I go off the live, the replay will be up You can watch it. You can share your thoughts in the comments. And you can share your thoughts on what you think the Eagles could do to improve to get this 3-game slump. And I got one more comment from Jonathan. Jalen did say you win or learn. Jalen did say you win or learn. Well, he know the team has learned after the Dallas loss, and they better against two win Raiders. Absolutely, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. They haven't learned since the Dallas loss because win a 3-game losing streak. They haven't learned. And yes, they better learn during the Raiders. And I think they will. I think they will. I think so. I'm gonna put the energy out there. I believe they're gonna get it right come Sunday against the Raiders. They're gonna get it right. And as I said, they gotta go out there. Just gotta go out there and treat it like a playoff game. Treat this game like they playing against the Cowboys or a rival. You know, play with some urgency. Just don't play at the Raiders level. That's the mistake that they don't need to make. As long as they don't play at the Raiders level, they're gonna be good. And I appreciate you, Jonathan, for commenting there as well, sharing your thoughts as well. And I appreciate you, Tim, for sharing your thoughts as well. I appreciate you, Keen and Maria. I appreciate you guys sharing your thoughts. But I'm gonna get out of here. And before I tap on out of here, I just want to let you know I'm the Reddit's only. I do live talks with Low every Wednesday, same time and place, unless I say otherwise. And join me next week at 8 o'clock p.m. I'm starting a new time. So those of you who have been following me, I know I used to do 9 o'clock, but I'm doing 8 o'clock p.m. I think that's a better time. I think that might be a little earlier. I know people going to bed. People got to get their kids ready for school or whatever they have to do before they go to work the next morning. I have to work early the next morning too as well. So I think 8 o'clock is a new time. But before I get out of here, I just want to share this with y'all one more time. If you'd like to be a guest on Live Talks with Low, you can contact me at this email to be a guest on Live Talks with Low. Loretta'sOnly1@gmail.com. Send me an email. Send me your bio, a picture you'd like to use if you're an artist, or if you're a business owner, or if you're someone who just got a topic that you want to share or you like to talk about, or you just want to have a story you want to share. I do that as well. I know it's a music podcast, it's a hip hop podcast, but I also talk about other topics too, to keep it interesting, I also do sports. If you want to come over here and talk about Eagles with me, hey, I do that all day. I'm a huge Eagles fan. I love to talk about Eagles. I can talk about them all day. So with that being said, I'm out of here. Y'all be blessed. Peace.